Mic check, mic check. Welcome to EP.1 of Jems with Josh. I'm your host, Josh. Super excited to bring you guys gems for the 2025-26 NFL season to help you become a league winner in your fantasy football league. All right. So with EP1, we're going to start with, to me, the most important position in fantasy football, the running back position. I guarantee you, if you have the right combination of running backs in your lineup week to week, you're going to have a high chance of becoming a league winner in the 2025-26 NFL fantasy football season. So let's go ahead and look at ESPN's top 20 running backs for this season that they ranked before the season. And this is going by PPR. All the leagues that I'm playing, we go by PPR. So let's go ahead and start looking at that top 20 list, all right? So at number one, we have Bijan Robinson. I think Bijan Robinson is going to have an amazing season. The thing about Bijan is he's going to get a lot of carries, and he's also going to get a lot of catches out of that backfield. All right, so if you're lucky enough to get a high draft pick and you're able to get Bijan, you definitely want to grab him super high. One, if not one, definitely two in the draft this season. All right, let's follow up with Jahmyr Gibbs, absolute animal with the Detroit Lions. It's going to get a lot of catches, going to get a lot of carries out of the backfield as well. He does share a little bit of time with David Montgomery, but don't let that worry you. The Lions are a team that's going to definitely run that ball. We're not going to go through all of the guys in the top 20, but I'm going to, give you guys a couple names that I always know that are going to be gems. All right, follow up with Saquon Barkley. He's an absolute animal running behind the best line in football. Only question mark with Saquon is he's getting a little bit older, so we'll see if he can do that back-to-back seasons. Number 4, Christian McCaffrey. That's going to be one of those guys that you want to use a little bit of caution with. I had Christian McCaffrey in my lineup last season, and it didn't really end well for me because I waited a little too long to trade him. The thing with Christian McCaffrey, though, if he is healthy, he's an absolute animal. The only problem with Christian McCaffrey is he's on the latter years of, his career. He's closer to 30, and as we all know, running backs don't get healthier as they get older. Now, if you're able to get a Christian McCaffrey in a round 2, that might be an absolute steal. That might be a gem for the 25-26 season if he remains healthy. All right, following up, we got Ashton Genty, Devon Achane, Derrick Henry, Bucky Irvin, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams. All right, we're going to skip over some names. We're going to go with Chase Brown, Kenneth Walker, Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall, James Conner, Chuba Hubbard, and Amarian Hampton to kind of round out that top 20 on the ESPN PPR top 20 list. All right. I really do believe that if you have the right combination of running backs, you're gonna do absolutely amazing in fantasy football. All right. One thing I would definitely want to talk about are some sleepers in fantasy football this season. All right. One of the guys that I think who's going to be somewhat of a sleeper is Bucky Irvin. All right. Year 1, Bucky Irvin had a great season, but I think year 2 is going to be even better. All right, I think he's going to get a lot more carries out of that backfield, as well as a lot of catches out of that backfield. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense is going to be high powered, just like it was last year. Bucky Irvin could end up being one of those guys that ends up as a top 2, top 3 back at the end of the season. So if you get Bucky Irvin in a second round, third round, consider yourself lucky. All right. I think Bucky's going to have one hell of a season. All right. Another guy that I think who's an absolute sleeper who I had on my fantasy football season last year was Chase Brown. Chase Brown is an absolute animal. He's going to get majority of the goal line work, and he's going to get a lot of those catches out of the backfield. The reason why I love Chase Brown as well is the Bengals defense is awful. All right. I think Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Chase Brown will be on the field a lot. So you're going to get a lot of run out of those guys. So Chase Brown might end up being one of those guys as well who could be a top 5 running back at the end of the season. If you're able to get Chase Brown, definitely want to go with Chase Brown. And last but not least, I know this one might be kind of a surprise, but I think Breece Hall is a sleeper. Last year, Breece Hall was in the top 3 picks of every fantasy football league that I've seen last year. The hype went down a lot. A lot of it because of, the Aaron Rodgers saga. They had a lot of different coaches. Also, Breece getting nicked up a little bit. But imagine yourself being able to get Breece Hall in the second, third round this season. I think it's going to be an absolute steal. The reason why Aaron Glenn is the new head coach, I think he's a defensive head coach, right? So he's going to want to run that ball a lot. And with Justin Fields, he's not really the guy that you just, say, hey, back up every time and throw the ball. I think Breece is going to get a lot of carries this season, as well as a lot of catches out of the backfield. Justin Fields likes to drop it off a lot. If you are able to get a Breece Hall in the second, third, maybe even fourth round, consider that a major steal this season. I think Breece Hall is going to have a big big monster season, bounce back season. Some of the question marks that we're going to have for this season are, just the Cleveland Browns backfield. I don't know who's going to be RB1, so you might want to be aware of that. Same thing with Jacksonville. Jacksonville last year was a mess. Trevor Etienne, Tank Bigsby, not really sure who's going to be the running back this season, so you want to be careful there as well. Minnesota Vikings is another backfield that I'm kind of wary of a little bit. Aaron Jones is getting a lot older. Jordan Mason did come over from the 49ers, so we'll see how that is. I think it's going to be a running back by committee, but I kind of stay away from that backfield if you can. One of the things I definitely do want to look at is some handcuffs that you want to have for this season. One of those definitely being Trayvon Henderson and the New England Patriots. I think Ramondre Stevenson is going to end up being the RB1. He's going to be starting running back. But Trayvon Henderson, by the end of the season, is going to be your guy. He's a fast back. He's very explosive. I think he's going to get a lot of catches out of that backfield. I think Trayvon Henderson is one of those guys that when you get later in your draft, you definitely might want to pick and stash him for sure. Another guy that I really like a lot is Trey Benson with the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, James Conner, the last few years has been the main back. He's getting a lot of carries, but James Conner's also on the tail end of his career too. He's getting a lot older. I think Trey Benson is one of those guys that you definitely want to watch out for at the end of the season. Fast back, good catcher out of the backfield. Seen a lot of that with him at Florida State in college. Trey Benson is definitely a name that you want to look out for. And last but not least, man, Blake Corum with the Los Angeles Rams, right? Yes, Kyron Williams just got paid. Kyron Williams has been an animal the past 2 seasons, but if you really look at his season last year, it was very, very up and down if you're talking about fantasy. I think Blake Corum is going to get a lot of running backs. He's going to get a lot of carries in the red zone. I think he's going to get a lot of just burn this season in general. I think they're going to use a two-back system. So Blake Corum might be one of those guys that you guys want to look out for this season, okay? Last but not least, you know what? I got one more addition that I want to add there. Kronsky Merritt, running back from the Commanders. Brian Robinson is definitely going to be the starting running back, but all I've heard out of camp is Merritt is explosive. I think he's going to make his way into that offense, and by the end of the season, he could end up being one of those guys that help you also become a league winner. All right. So we're going to end off EP1 talking about our JEMMIE of the year, right? So again, we're giving you guys gems for the 2025-26 season. The guy who I think at the end of the season who's going to be JEMMIE is going to be Ashton Jeanty. All right. I absolutely love Ashton Jeanty. The Las Vegas Raiders run game was awful last season. I think putting Ashton Jeanty in there, he's going to get a lot of carries. Pete Carroll in his past is known to be one of those head coaches who really wants to run the ball a lot. The thing I also like about Jeanty too, though, is he's a great back out of the backfield catching the ball as well. I think when it's all said and done, Ashton Jeanty could end up as number 1 or number 2 RB for the entire season. If you're able to get Ashton Jeanty, trust me, you want to go ahead and do that. He's going to end up being JEMMIE for the 25-26 NFL season. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up EP1. I'll be back with EP2. We're going to be talking about wide receivers that are going to definitely help you become a league winner in the 25-26 NFL season. So definitely look out for us. Please make sure you follow us on Instagram at Jems with Josh. That's also on TikTok and YouTube. EP1, Jems with Josh. I'm your boy Josh, man. See you guys soon. Peace.